Public transport. It's the lifeline of every city, the late-night buses, the endless subway tunnels, the rattling trains that carry strangers shoulder to shoulder through the dark. You sit down, headphones in, convinced you'll be fine. But what if the stranger beside you never left? What if the shadow in the corner seat was watching only you? These are 3 true stories of creepy encounters on public transport, true horror stories, true scary horror stories, creepy stories, home alone horror stories for sleep, scary stories animated, haunted tales, chilling scares, nightmare tales, and urban fright that remind us the scariest ride isn't the destination. It's the company. If you love true scary horror stories, creepy stories, haunted tales, chilling scares, dark folklore, urban legends, paranormal ghost stories, and terrifying tales, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell, because tonight, your commute just got haunted. This story is about the last subway ride. Ethan was a college student who often stayed late at the library. One winter night, he caught the last subway home. The platform was empty, except for a single man sitting at the far bench, his face hidden under a hood. Ethan stepped onto the train, and to his relief, he was the only passenger. Or so he thought. As the doors slid shut, he noticed movement. 2 rows down, the hooded man was already seated, staring straight at him. Ethan hadn't seen him board. The train rattled forward, echoing through the underground. Ethan turned on his music, but halfway through the ride, the sound cut out. He checked his phone. A new file had appeared in his recordings app, titled Breathing. When he pressed play, it wasn't his voice. It was heavy, raspy breathing, as if someone had been sitting inches from the microphone. Heart pounding, Ethan glanced up. The hooded man had moved. He was now sitting 1 row closer, his head tilted, watching without blinking. Stop after stop, the train emptied, but the man never left. Each time Ethan shifted cars, the man followed, silent, dragging something across the floor. It wasn't until Ethan reached the final stop that he saw what it was, a broken subway strap, frayed at the ends, clutched tight in his hand. Ethan bolted out of the train, sprinting through the station. Behind him, he heard the faint scuff of shoes echoing faster and faster. He barely made it out before the gates closed, slamming the man inside. Weeks later, Ethan thought it was over, until he got into bed one night and found a subway ticket tucked under his pillow. Written on the back, in jagged handwriting, "Next time, no last stop." From that night forward, Ethan's life turned into one long nightmare tale. Every time he rode the subway, even during the day, he felt eyes on him. A reflection in the darkened windows sometimes showed the outline of a hooded figure sitting just behind him. It became one of those true scary horror stories he wished he could forget, but instead, it followed him into his sleep stories, haunting his dreams with eerie encounters. Soon, Ethan began finding more than just subway tickets. Crumpled Polaroids appeared in his backpack and textbooks, grainy pictures of him sitting in class, walking to the library, even standing in his own kitchen. The images carried that same faint smudge in the corner, as if a gloved hand had pressed too close to the lens. These creepy stories weren't just rumors or urban legends, they were his life unraveling, piece by piece. One late night, after weeks of paranoia, Ethan tried to convince himself it was all in his head. He boarded a nearly empty train, determined to ride in peace. But the smell of bleach drifted through the car, and from the corner of his eye, he saw something glint, the broken subway strap, swaying gently against the floor. He didn't dare look up. In that silence, he realized the scariest passengers in these haunted tales aren't strangers in ghost stories, they're the ones who sit quietly, waiting for you to notice too late. Ethan stopped taking the subway after that, but the haunting didn't stop. His phone buzzed at 3 a.m. with recordings he never made, his own voice muttering in his sleep, the sound of someone else's footsteps pacing his bedroom floor, and sometimes, the faint rattle of subway tracks beneath it all. These chilling scares and paranormal moments convinced him he wasn't just dealing with a stalker. This was something darker, something that blurred the line between haunted stories and real life, one of those terrifying tales people dismiss until they live it. Because in true horror stories, true scary horror stories, creepy stories, haunted tales, eerie experiences, nightmare tales, dark secrets, urban legends, and urban fright, the scariest passengers aren't the ones beside you, they're the ones who never get off. This story is about the bus driver's smile. Clara worked late at a retail store, always catching the midnight bus home. Her driver was an older man with a wide, toothy smile that never seemed to fade. He greeted her by name, though she'd never told him. One night, as the bus rolled through empty streets, Clara realized they had missed her stop. She pulled the cord, but the driver didn't slow down. Instead, he smiled wider in the rearview mirror and said, "I'll take you somewhere better." The bus turned down streets she didn't recognize, abandoned warehouses, dead ends, no lights. Clara's phone lost service. She was the only passenger. Panicked, she rushed to the back door, but it was locked. Every handle she grabbed was sealed shut. The driver just kept humming, the same eerie tune over and over. Finally, the bus stopped. They were in front of an old, boarded-up gas station. The driver stood, still smiling, and whispered, "This is where they all get off." Clara shoved past him, breaking the latch on the side window, and dove into the freezing night. Behind her, she heard the bus door slam and the engine roar away. She called the police, but when they tracked the license plate, they told her something impossible. That bus route had been retired for over 10 years. The driver she described had been dead for nearly a decade, killed in that exact bus when it crashed into the gas station. From then on, whenever Clara rode the bus, she never sat near the front. But sometimes, late at night, she still heard that same tune drifting from the driver's seat, even when no one was there. Her co-workers thought she was paranoid, but Clara swore that sometimes when she boarded a bus, the reflection in the driver's mirror didn't match the man behind the wheel. Once, she even saw that wide, toothy smile staring back at her, until she blinked, and it was gone. It was like living inside one of those true scary horror stories that blur the line between paranormal ghost stories and reality. Clara also began finding strange bus tickets slipped into her bag. None of them had the current date. They were decades old, faded, with the same route number as the one that had been retired. On the back of each, in smeared ink, were phrases like, "last passenger," or "one more ride." These chilling scares felt less like pranks and more like dark secrets only she was meant to discover. One night, Clara thought she had escaped the nightmare. She took a rideshare instead of the bus, certain she was safe. But halfway home, her driver pulled over for no reason. When she asked why, he pointed out the window. Parked across the street, engine running but headlights off, was the same old city bus. She could hear faint humming through the glass, the exact tune the smiling driver always sang. That eerie encounter convinced her this wasn't just a coincidence. It was something haunting her specifically. After that, Clara stopped riding at night altogether. Yet, even years later, whenever she passed an empty bus parked along the curb, she felt her chest tighten. And sometimes, late at night, as she lay in bed, she would hear the soft rumble of an engine outside her window followed by the sound of doors hissing open. That's when she realized some haunted tales, terrifying tales, and nightmare stories never end. They follow you forever. Because in true horror stories, creepy stories, haunted tales, eerie experiences, and urban fright, some drivers never stop picking up passengers, even long after their final crash. This story is about the night train stranger. Marcus was traveling cross-country by train, hoping to sleep the long ride away. He shared a cabin with 3 strangers, but by midnight, only one remained awake, a tall man in a wrinkled suit who sat perfectly still, hands folded, staring straight ahead. Hours passed. Marcus dozed, only to wake and find the man closer, now seated directly across from him. The others were gone. Marcus tried to start a conversation, but the man didn't respond. Instead, he slowly pulled out a small Polaroid. It was of Marcus, asleep, in that very seat. Marcus demanded to know where he'd gotten it. The man finally smiled. "You look better when you're unaware." The train hit a tunnel, plunging everything into pitch black. When the lights flickered back, the man was gone. In his place lay a neat stack of Polaroids, dozens of them, each showing Marcus in different poses, brushing his teeth at home, walking to class, even lying in bed. Marcus reported it, but the train attendants swore no such passenger had been on board. His ticket stub showed his cabin was booked only for one. That night, when Marcus returned home, his apartment lights wouldn't turn on. In the dark, his phone buzzed. A new picture appeared in his gallery, him, standing in the doorway, looking at his own phone. From then on, Marcus lived in constant fear. More Polaroids began appearing, tucked into his mailbox, slid under his door, even placed on his pillow while he slept. Each new photo was more invasive than the last. Some showed him tossing in his sheets, others captured him mid-bite at dinner. These weren't just creepy stories anymore, they were true scary horror stories unraveling before his eyes, the kind of nightmare tales that bleed into reality. One night, Marcus thought he heard someone moving through his apartment. He called out, but no one answered. When he turned on the light, the room was empty, except for another Polaroid on the floor. This one showed him standing in the exact same spot, mouth open mid-word, as if someone had taken it seconds earlier. The photo was still warm to the touch, like it had just developed. That chilling scare convinced Marcus he wasn't imagining things. He was being hunted. Desperate for answers, Marcus stopped traveling and avoided trains altogether. But the haunting didn't stop. A coworker once asked why Marcus always ripped up Polaroids at the shredder. He didn't have the courage to explain that he never printed them himself, they just appeared. He even tried moving apartments, but the eerie encounters followed. Within a week at his new place, a photo appeared on his kitchen counter, Marcus unlocking his new front door. The most terrifying moment came months later, on another restless night. Marcus woke to the faint click of a camera shutter inside his bedroom. Frozen in fear, he forced himself to turn on his lamp. Nothing was there. But his phone buzzed again. In his gallery was a fresh picture, him sitting upright in bed, hand reaching for the lamp. Whoever was doing this wasn't just nearby, they were in the room with him. Because in dark secrets, horror stories for sleep, haunted tales, terrifying tales, eerie experiences, paranormal ghost stories, and urban fright, the scariest passengers don't just share the ride. They follow you home, and they never stop watching. Public transport. We think it's just a ride, a routine, a way home. But in these three true stories of creepy encounters on public transport, we've seen how trains, buses, and subways become cages for true scary horror stories, paranormal ghost stories, urban legends, and chilling scares that never end. From the last subway ride, to the smiling bus driver, to the night train stranger, these haunted tales and eerie experiences remind us that the monsters aren't always in dark forests or abandoned houses. Sometimes, they're in the seat beside you. So the next time you feel someone staring on a late-night ride, or you hear footsteps follow you off the bus, or you spot a Polaroid you never posed for, remember. It's not just a commute. It's an invitation to something darker. If you enjoyed these true horror stories, haunted tales, creepy stories, and nightmare stories, hit like, subscribe, and share your own eerie encounters and urban fright in the comments. Because the scariest part of public transport isn't missing your stop. It's realizing you were never alone.